Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Mud Gear Battle Alliance Pro, Evan Preparis. I got another Mud Gear Battle Alliance Pro on the line with me and possibly a third guest. We're going to see if he joins us a little bit later. Joining me, I've got Jenny Overstreet. Jenny, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
As I mentioned, Jenny's another pro and recent winner of America's Toughest Mudder Central, Indianapolis, so the 12-hour Toughest Mudder race. She won the female division this past weekend. Also, obviously, on my pro team, and it's got a smattering of podiums, mostly in the Midwest. This episode is brought to you by Hylete. Hylete is my go-to pre- and post-race apparel. Very comfortable. That's what our warm-ups are for the team. I use their bags every time I travel, so if you ever see me traveling to or from a race, I'll have one of their backpacks on. I guarantee it. I use their 6-in-1 a lot of the times. It's a backpack that you can turn into a duffel bag, essentially, and then a computer bag, or you combine them all into one. Or I have a couple of their other like normal backpacks, the Icon, which is discontinued, but then their normal kind of like standard backpack, which if you see me at Infinite Hero on a challenge, that's what I was wearing on the course. Jenny, give me some thoughts on Hylete.
I love Hylete. I've got quite a few of their like regular activewear stuff. I'm actually wearing the shorts right now, and I was wearing them like pre and post race this last Toughest Mudder. So I just like all of their things.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking all about Toughest Mudder Central. So Jenny, that was your first. That was your first Toughest Mudder, not your first Tough Mudder. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. How many Tough Mudders have you done before?
So I did one, like 5 or 6 years ago, just for fun with a group of friends. I think we just did the 5K. So that's my whole experience with Tough Mudder.
Right on.
Yeah.
We just had Phil Hucke join us, the Ohio beard here. We're doing just audio today, Phil. Then you don't have to worry about seeing your beautiful, luscious beard here. So.
I'm trying to get my phone to accept all the permissions here.
And we got Akash joining us, too.
Hey, guys.
Hey, we're just doing audio today, Akash.
Oh, great. This is better.
What is with the cricket? Is there a cricket noise? Are you guys hearing this?
I think it's Philip.
Yeah, he's out.
It's probably me. They're over there drilling posts and stuff for a new obstacle.
Oh, okay.
Of course, there's crickets all around me. I am standing in a field.
All right, so just joining us, we had Akash Garg, one of my teammates from the most recent Toughest, and also my teammate from Toughest Mudder Las Vegas 2019. Akash, welcome.
Hey, guys.
And then also joining me, we got Phil Hucke, who's been on the podcast before, several time Ninja Warrior competitor, best known for his glorious beard, which is actually shorter than it used to be. So, Phil, welcome.
Glad to be here.
And if you may remember Phil from advertisements, let's see, for Indian Mud Run, from OCRWC, I think some A&W advertisements too, where he actually like painted his beard. Is that right, yeah. Phil? Am I missing any other brands?
I had a very glorious picture for me at Warx with a huge explosion behind me on a rope traverse.
Yeah. Warx, another local brand in Ohio, and I believe you are out there right now building. Is that correct?
I am on course right now. We're setting up some new obstacles. It's something nobody's ever seen in an obstacle race before, so exciting. Definitely worth checking out.
And give a quick plug for Warx. When is that and location?
I believe first weekend of October, Jackson, Ohio. We got a trilogy weekend going on, so there's actually 3 races over the whole weekend. There's a 3K sprint lap, a 10K main race, and then a 5K trail race. So it's going to be a good time.
Amazing. Yeah, that's been on my bucket list for a while. That Indian Mud Run, Ohio is not the closest place for me to get to. So it's been on there. I'll make it out there one of these days, hopefully. So. All right, so we were talking about Toughest Mudder primarily for this episode. Just mentioned Jenny's first Toughest experience. So, Jenny, let's start off with like what were you expecting going into the event, and then kind of how did it actually? Yeah, let's see what were you expecting going into the event.
So I kind of didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. I had gotten some feedback from like a few Tough Mudder enthusiasts like Jason Rulo, and I know I talked to you a little bit about it, Evan, but I really didn't know what to expect. I just kind of went into it knowing I'm going to be moving for 12 hours, and that was all that I knew. So, yeah.
Right on. And then how did it actually start playing out for you once you started running?
Well, I think I was feeling pretty good as far as running goes. It was a super cool experience. I thought I didn't know. So I kind of knew, I knew I was going to be running for 12 hours, but I didn't know how the rules worked and how everything worked. And I didn't really know until the day before that it was kind of like a rolling obstacle opening kind of thing. So obstacles opened at different times. And I thought that was really cool. And it kind of kept things interesting as you kept going. Obviously, at some point, everything's open and it gets, you're repeating the same things over and over. But I don't know. I just thought it was cool how it kept you kind of engaged and kept things changing a little bit throughout the whole process. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done other ultras. So how far have you run for just pure ultra, and how far have you run for ultra OCR?
For pure ultra, I've done 50 miles. So I've done a 50 miler. This last Tavis was my longest ultra OCR. So the 70K.
Yeah. And what was your previous longest ultra OCR before that?
50 miles.
Okay.
Oh, previous OCR ultra?
Yeah.
I want to say it was maybe 17 miles.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Pretty substantial upgrade. I know.
Yes.
Phil, this was your first toughest too. Give me some of your kind of thoughts, expectations, and then going in and kind of some of how it played out. All right. So on my side, me and...
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now. Go for it.
Okay. Sorry. Phone was muted. Anyway, so yeah, this was, it was actually my second toughest, but it was my first one I did competitively. I did one a few years ago in Chicago with some friends and cousins. And, that was just a fun run. Even at that, I was able to do 25 miles and a little bit tired by the end of that, but, it was kind of one of those, I really want to get back and do one of these seriously and see how it goes and see what I can do. And it just never worked out until this year. And I'm glad I did make it back. I know kind of last minute there, we decided to form our team. I had in mind that I was running this individual. And then very last minute, hey, we're joining a team. And I got to say, I'm really glad I did, because the team mentality certainly helped me push through when I wanted to be done. And I knew I was capable of more, but I sure didn't want to do more. so it was good to have that push for sure.
Yeah. So long story short, last minute race cancellation for me this past weekend. So I messaged, Akash, Phil, and Scott Rozecki, our other teammate, on, I think it was Wednesday. And I was like, hey, you want to do a team this weekend at Toughest Mudder? And they all three of them said yes. So we signed up and, got ready to go, kind of last minute team. Akash, do you know the average age of our team off the top of your head?
I think it was 41 and change. I feel like I'm also the older one in it, so it makes me feel sad. But yes, 41.
Yeah, so we got 39, 40, 42, and another 42, I believe, is the four ages. So how did you feel coming into the race? And give me some of your thoughts of this toughest compared to some of the other toughest.
I'll be honest, work has been crazy for me. So when someone said team, I said, that sounds great. I think that would be wonderful. So I don't have to kill myself for a complete 12 hours. This race was fast, even though there's sections of mud. I was surprised at how fast this course was. And I thought the Tough Mudders stepped up their game with the obstacles. These weren't they were a little bit tougher, I thought.
Yeah, I'd agree. They added a lot more, for those of you who hate Devil's Beard, I feel like there was a Devil's Beard variant on more than, I don't know how many Devil's Beard variants there were on the course.
It was nothing but Devil's Beard.
even Arctic Enema. If you think about it, we got out of that and you're still crawling around.
Yes, for the Devil's Beard is the net that's essentially staked to the ground. So Arctic Enema, you went into the ice slide and then had to climb out underneath the net to get out. There was a Devil's Beard that was in water, so you kind of entered on dirt, went into the this watery section, and then climbed out up kind of slightly uphill. So yeah, it was good. My only kind of complaint, and I'm not saying it was poorly marked, but I'm saying compared to the Tough Mudder standard, I thought the course markings were not as good as previous events. There was some times when you'd have I kind of had to like squint to see the next course marking kind of off in the distance. And, if it was daytime, you'd be able to see it perfectly fine. But at nighttime, it was a little bit harder to see. So I know I caught a couple people like veering off course and like called their, said, whoa, over here. And they kind of came back on. But, other than that, I thought it was a very well run event. So Jenny, how did, you came across the first lap. Tell me a little about that, the sprint lap, and then kind of your plan moving forward from there.
Okay, so it's kind of funny because who was I running with?
Jason Rulo, maybe?
No, it wasn't Jason. It was a Strong as Oak guy. Jeff, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Jeff.
Yeah. So we ended up the last like mile or so of the first lap running next to each other. I had no idea what it even meant to have the sprint lap, but we're like running along and he sees the girl that was in front of me coming up towards the finish off in the distance. And he's like, hey, if you sprint her, you can win the sprint lap. Or if you beat her, you can win the sprint lap. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I just take off and start sprinting, trying to catch her. And then we end up crossing the first mat. I actually was ahead of her, but then I didn't realize there was 2 timing mats. And so like I held back. And so she won the sprint lap, but I was almost there. And like afterwards it was like you get a different color bib or something like that, and I was like, well, that was kind of dumb. Like I just sprinted for like
for no reason,
what felt like forever for no reason. But it was just kind of funny. But then from that point, like I think that that pushed me into first position, and I felt pretty strong from there. Like it took me a little bit to recover from that nice long sprint, but once I was recovered from that, I was feeling pretty good. And from there, just kept moving.
Yeah, I know. I think you've made a mistake that I often make. We've been racing obstacle. I think everyone on this podcast has been racing obstacle course racing for a long time, where I get so comfortable that I'm like, I've done obstacle course. I don't need to read the rules. I'm fine. And sometimes it bites you in the butt, yeah. Especially when you're entering something that's complicated, like Toughest Mudder, which has a lot of variations. And even variations from previous years. Akash, why don't you tell me about what surprised you at the last Toughest Mudder East in Philly?
Well, this particular one, I'm sorry, I have to comment on rules. I believe I had a teammate, maybe by the name of Evan, that reminded me about timing mats and the 60-second thing. And I almost ruined a whole lap for our entire team. And I totally screwed up. Yeah. I didn't realize that you really did need the 60-second rule between teammates crossing. I about basically, Evan would have killed me. Let's just be honest.
So for that one, it was the same timing mat that caused the problem. So Akash had separated from Scott on his lap, and he's like, yeah, Scott's behind me. He'll catch up. So Akash comes off of Mudderhorn, and Scott isn't on Mudderhorn yet. And he's jogging towards that first timing mat, which is in front of electroshock therapy. And he's about to cross it. I'm like, Akash, stop, fuck, like, F-bomb, stop, like screaming at the top of my lungs. And he freezes. And then he's like, I'm sorry. And I was like, sorry, I had to, I went from 0 to 100 in about half a second.
I'll be honest, that was great. And the other thing, though, I did not realize with Toughest this year, I don't know if it was really this race, the 2-man, 4-man thing. It used to be with 2-man, you could alternate laps. I mean, I really enjoyed that previously. And now they're saying that the 2-man, you have to have 2 people on course all the time.
Yeah, so the relay category is 2 people on course regardless. So there's no more 2-man and 4-man relay categories. It's just relay category. And if you show up with 2 people, you guys stay as a team. Essentially, you both have to be on course the whole time. If you show up with 4 people or 3 people, first and last lap have to be together. In between, it's 2-man or 2-person on course minimum. So yeah, that's an adjustment. And then what about the lap length at your last toughest?
Lord. Quick. Okay, so my dumb self, I'm used to 5-mile laps, and well, I'm looking at my watch and I feel like, hey guys, we're going really slow. Why we're not even close to halfway? What's going on? Why did we take so long? I kind of yelled at some teammates and kind of got frustrated for a minute, and then I realized these are 6-mile laps. This might be why we're 15 minutes off the pace.
So there, Akash is yelling at Four Loco, which is the team he was on last time, which is like I think they're undefeated in toughest. They hold the record for most toughest miles as a relay team. We've had Jake Ramsey on the podcast before, who's one of their members, and he's got a great lineup of athletes with them, which is just real. I think that's a really funny story.
It was great. They were all like, "We're good, man."
So yeah, toughest mudder this year is 6.2 mile laps, so 10K laps. And I'm tracking the world's toughest mudder, unless they change it before then, is still going to be the 5 mile laps. So there'll be more, which I like a little better. It's more obstacle density. So, to each their own. All right. Whew. Jenny, let's do Jenny and Phil, like favorite, least favorite obstacle on the course.
What's the one? Not electroshock therapy, but the other one with the
White lightning
electrical wires. White lightning. I actually really like that. It was just kind of fun to get through, and it totally woke me up every time I went through it. So
that was the worst. So the White Lightning, they did a combination of Crybaby and electric eel. So there was the hanging electro wires, but you're crawling through it, and then they pumped the quote unquote tear gas in. And it was actually kind of thick. It's basically like menthol gas. It's not actually CS or tear gas. But
there was one point when I got to it that they left the front open, and I think it was maybe getting too dense. Like people were complaining or something, but I don't know.
My first lap, I couldn't keep my eyes open, and I must have been shocked like 15 times going through. I picked a really bad lane, and it was so smoky I couldn't see anything. But the trick is you got to find the lane that works for you. Like there are certain gaps. So I eventually went all the way to the left, and that was like my go-to. And I would get shocked like once, maybe twice per lap, as opposed to 15. And then what about a least favorite?
And it was interesting when other people. So least favorite, is it called Mud Mile? the mud holes.
It's just mud pits. Yeah.
Yeah. That was just. Yeah. Yeah. It was just like I'm 5'2", so some of that water was like up to like my shoulder height, and it was just really challenging to get out of.
Right on. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Is it most favorite, least favorite?
Yeah.
Yeah, so most favorite, I mean, anything that's close to and approximating a ninja-style obstacle. So, King of Swingers or Funky Monkey. Yeah, that's my bread and butter. I love those things. And honestly, I actually kind of liked the electric eel one. Evan, I know you did not have as good of a trip through that as I did, but I'm kind of a strange individual in that the electric shocks don't really bother me. And weirdly, their tear gas stuff, it really wasn't bothering me either. I just kind of flopped down and sprinted through that, and I was through it in about 10 seconds and said, that one's easy. So. Yeah, that one didn't bother me a whole lot. Certainly least favorite. I'm not a big fan of the Arctic enema. When I hit the water, it always makes me gasp really bad, and I've got to be real careful not to get my head in the water when you first drop in, or else I'll take in water, and that'll be a bad day. So, yeah, I mean, everything else is pretty much run of the mill. Although, Evan, if you recall I forget what it's called, the one where we had to go on the floats across the water.
Oh yeah, Castaway.
Castaway. Yeah. Our first attempt at that didn't go particularly well, and I think there's some photographic evidence floating around of our questionable methods of getting through that one. But hey, we got it. So. Yeah.
So normally the inflation thing is like slightly deflated, and when you sit on it, it kind of you sink into it really good. But this one was like super inflated, just like it was in Missouri. And so we were essentially like, the float was like off to the side, and we were just like hanging sideways, like just forcing our way across, kind of muscling it. So, and it was super, I do appreciate your obstacle proficiency. It was super nice to be with someone who's very obstacle proficient. In general, I'm usually the stronger of the two for obstacle running. So it was, every time we got to him, I was like, oh, we're going to make it across, no problem. So,
yeah, well, I'd say the least favorite of mine is just how many miles I had to run, because the running is where I'm not as strong. So yeah, that was maybe that was my least favorite part, was mile after mile after mile and miles.
So Jenny, you've now that you've done a toughest, let's say you're going back to another one, what are you going to change to kind of adjust your strategy?
Sorry, I didn't unmute. I think that I kind of learned a little bit. Well, first of all, I need to go up a half the size of my shoes because if they start filling up with mud like they did through every mud mile, it was like killing my toes. So that would be what I would change the most. And then I also kind of learned that just packing nutrition so I don't actually have to go into the pit area. Like I think that I could have done that a little bit better. And I think I only actually pitted twice, but I think I could actually even maybe cut that down to like once every couple laps or 3 laps probably. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, they were actually stricter on the rules this time. I heard they straight up DQ'd a couple people for essentially passing food out during the non-pit area, right? So like there was kind of a buffer area, and then there was the pit, and then if you kind of went through the start line and walked a little bit, there was like a, it wasn't quite the buffer, it wasn't quite the pit, it wasn't quite the course, but they were like, you're not allowed to pass food there, and I heard they DQ'd people. Akash, did you see that? I think you were one of the ones.
Yeah, that actually kind of made me, in a way, happy. I'm not saying happy like I don't want someone to get DQ'd, honestly, but that they were enforcing rules. Like, because some people, we kind of put our pit time and pit strategy into how we race, and,
right.
and that's really a big deal of it to me. I don't know.
Yeah, Akash, I mean, you've done a ton of ultra OCRs, right? I mean, Spartan Ultra Beast. How many Ultra Beasts have you done, and how many? Give some people some plugs on some of your credentials.
Oh Lord. Bone Frog, which is kind of going to expire. I don't know how they're doing, honestly, but I'm the all-time endurance one for them. I think I've run 30 with them. And with Spartan, I can't remember the exact number, but I've podiumed over 10 times. Not as many as you, sir. I can't say nothing about that. Tough Mudder with Toughest and all that. I've done only about a dozen at most, but every one of them, oh my gosh, being able to pit efficiently and not get cold is huge. I always found that to be amazing. I think that's the biggest thing.
So do you change anything when we run, you came in third at Toughest Central, was it 2019? Me and you came in first at Toughest West 2019. You came in first and third this year at the 2 toughest in relay. Yeah, what do you change when you switch over to from individual to team? Like what's some of your adjustments you make?
Well, Evan, I'm not going to lie about this. I think we had a slight discussion about this once, but you don't have to pack effectively if it's team. Yeah, I really think you could just pile what you would normally do. You don't make your little nice, perfect lap bags. When I'm individual, each lap, there's a perfect bag of nutrition. I'm grabbing this and I'm going, gels in hand, run, don't spend any time in the pit whatsoever. When it's team, it's like, okay, the lap's done. I'm going to casually find my little bag and go do this. I mean, heck, I don't think me or you even packed our stuff really effectively for this past one.
100%. Yeah, that's accurate. And I know some of the listeners are like, well, I'm not competitive, so I don't need to pack the lap bags or stuff like that. But I'll say, everyone's going out there with a goal, whether it be get a brown bib for World's Toughest or, qualify as contender. So anytime you spent messing around in the pit and not moving forward, that's time you're costing yourself not on course moving forward, right? That's taking away from your overall goal. So,
correct. Definitely correct.
And yeah, my packing was a complete disaster this time. The one thing I changed from when I do individual is I bring a lot more changes of clothes. So I actually changed into dry socks and dry shorts between every lap for this. So I would I changed my shoes a couple times. Again, normally I either do one change or no changes. And for this one, I changed shoes, I think 3 or 4 times. And even when I didn't change shoes, I take off my shoes between laps and scrape out the mud that had accumulated, like Jenny was saying. And I put on dry shorts and dry socks because sitting around in wet clothes, even in 70-degree weather, will make you cold. So
another thing too, Evan, I mean, whenever we're doing team and such, one thing that I really noticed that I think we forget, keeping that body warm in between laps, not just by temperature, but God bless you don't want to catch a cramp then. It's weird. That's the worst time to catch a cramp is actually in the pit.
Yeah. Phil, tell me a little bit about how did you stay warm between laps? What was your method?
After our first pit, well, I didn't in our first pit. I got pretty darn cold. After that, I peeled off I was running shirtless. I peeled off the bib that they gave us. I took the different tack. I just left I left my wet bottoms on and just hunkered down in the dry robe for the most part. And I found that was pretty sufficient. After that, I didn't really get cold. But yeah, like what Akash was saying was just the downtime. While it was like tantalizing while you're out on the course and suffering, like, oh my gosh, I need a break. The hour-long break was almost too much because you cool off, your body starts saying, okay, well, we're done running now. I can start resting, relaxing, healing, whatever. And getting started moving again from that state was increasingly difficult as the night went, for sure. So yeah, as nice as the downtime seemed, in the end, I feel like it was almost worse. At least harder to get started again.
Yeah, mentally it's a different feeling, and it almost makes the event feel longer because you're like, I feel like I'm counting down minutes when I'm sitting in the pit, being like, okay, when are they going to arrive? All right, doing math and trying to figure things out. But yeah.
But it did give me a chance to do some refueling that I desperately needed, and some rehydrating. Hydration kind of became an issue on our final lap. I had definitely gotten dehydrated by that point. And so, using the downtime, trying to get as much water into me as possible. And honestly, I'd say that was one kind of ding against the race itself, was that there was only one water station at the halfway point. And I felt like we could have used a few more, especially early in the night when it was still, I'm going to be honest, it was still pushing 80 degrees and very humid. I mean, the sun's not shining, but it's still warm. I was still sweating like crazy and losing water.
Yeah.
And just having one water station at 3 miles in was like, I could have used a little more. But then again, hey, that's on me. I could have carried it.
True.
So
yeah, one water station is the norm for 5 mile laps. The other toughest this year, I thought it had like 2 or 3 water stations. I thought it had a couple more. Do you remember, Akash?
Yeah, they definitely had 2. I distinctly remember 2.
Yeah. Jenny, tell me a little bit about some of your gear choices: shoes, socks, anti-chafing, recovery, etc.
So shoes, I run in pretty, like, my standard is the BJ Max. And then gear-wise, it's pretty much all mud gear. Obviously, mud gear, compression socks, and then the compression capris. Like, I kept as much coverage, at least on my lower body, as possible. That's pretty much it.
I run in shorts a lot of the times, and my shins end up getting all cut up. But I don't know. It's just 12 hours. They'll heal. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned. But I always come out of these ultra OCRs like looking like I ran through a bunch of thorn bushes all night. So, but yeah.
Okay, well, can I ask the question? Does anyone else have these little red bumps all over them from something?
I do not. Akash, Phil?
My forearms got a little bit chewed up, and I think that was from getting dropped off the top of the warped wall doohickey there by one of the volunteers. Got a little chewed up on that, but I've definitely come out of a few races with what you're talking about. It's probably chigger bites.
Yeah.
Itchy as all get out. Oh,
they're really not itchy. And there's a couple people that were within my group that have the same thing going on. So I don't know what it is. It just looks bad, but they don't itch or hurt. So, yeah.
Only thing I was left with was bruises for me being stupid. That's what I had on my.
Yeah, I got a few of those too.
I'm proud to say I didn't rip my shorts this time, which is a rarity. I rip my shorts almost every race. It's usually because I'm literally like dragging my ass over some of the obstacles, because I'm trying to save energy / tired / being lazy, and it always catches on like the one thing with like the tiniest of edges. So didn't rip my shorts this time. I was pleased with that. And other than that,
on my end, the bottoms that I was running in are legendary to me. I've had the same OCR like shorts things that I've been running in for almost 10 years now.
And
I cannot believe they're still holding together. Nobody can believe they're still holding together. But I mean, the day they die is the day that I cry, because they're perfect. They're tight, but they have integrated knee pads. And on any kind of crawl, you get down on your knees. They're perfect. They're Under Armour. I found them on clearance at Dick's like 10 years ago. I was like, oh, these look like they'll be nice. And here I am 10 years later. I mean, they got some thin spots, and I always bring a backup pair because I think, oh, well, this is going to be the race to do them in. But nope, they're still kicking, and they survived the toughest now too. So, and I've never seen another pair like them.
That's impressive. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Jonathan, who works on the Tough Mudder staff, who's actually he's usually in the registration or like Mudder information tent when you come into a Tough Mudder event. But he actually was there, not working, running toughest. And I think it was his first toughest. And so I ran into him at Shawshank, which is the one where you climb up the tube and then you fall into the water below. And I think he watched me go out, and I basically like get to the end and kind of crouch into a ball and like hop in feet first. And he's like, oh man, he's like, I've been falling in backwards the whole time. He's like, you can just hop out like that. I was like, yeah, it's a lot more pleasant. He's like, damn it. It's like, yeah. So little tricks like that you pick up. Jenny, were you falling in backwards or were you hopping out?
No, I was hopping out for sure, but someone else in my group said that the instructions said to fall in backwards. So maybe that's why he was doing it.
I mean, so the official, like the way they show you to do the obstacle, like on their advertisements, is falling in backwards. That being said, like almost no one does that because it's not pleasant. Because I've done it before to save time, and you just kind of eat it hard coming out. I have who was I talking to? I was talking to someone that says that if you go face first and kind of tuck and roll, you'll do a complete rotation and land feet first. Can't remember who was talking. Maybe it was Jason Rulo who was talking about that.
Huh.
So I have not tried that one. Maybe I'll give it a whirl at some point. So my travel to there went great. So shout out to Akash for picking me up from the airport, let me crash at his place for a little bit beforehand. And then my travel on the way back was a complete disaster. So I got, let's see, Scott Rulo and Jason Rulo and Scott Wierzecki. So Jason's the Neptune creator, and Scott, who's been on the pro team for a couple years. We started driving into the wrong location. We started driving to Cincinnati because Scott was like out of it and put the wrong address into his phone. Probably only took us about 15 minutes out of the way, and then finally drove to Indianapolis airport and dropped me off. I sat on the runway for 3.5 hours. So like I'm on the plane, I fall asleep, I'm out for 2 hours, I wake up, and I'm still in Indiana on the runway. And I was like, what is happening? And I looked at the guy next to me, I'm like, what is going on? He's like, oh, I don't know, they're fixing something on the plane. Long story short, I get to Chicago about 3.5 hours late, and my Chicago flight had already taken off. Actually, I only missed it by like an hour. And so I'm stuck in Chicago for an additional 22 hours. And my friend, one of my college roommates, happens to be dating a girl from Chicago, and they happen to be coming back from Norway at that exact same time. So they actually got off their flight and met me at the airport, and went back to her place and went out to dinner with them. And then I got to spend like a day in Chicago. It was awesome. Like started out as a disaster, but it turned into a lot of fun. Side note, I walked around like the Sears Tower and some other sites, the giant Chicago Bean there, and it was raining, so it was like completely empty. And then I went to, there's a place called Galloping Ghost Arcade. It is the largest arcade in the world, 885 video games. So essentially a flat fee to get in, you pay, and then you can stay as long as you want. I got to play there for about an hour and a half before I had to go catch my flight. So ended up being a pretty good, delay in my flight plans there. Bill, got to give a quick shout out to your wife for hanging out with us and taking care of us between laps. It's always nice to have someone else who is confident and clear-headed and helpful hanging out in the pit. So definitely appreciate her.
Yeah, I will definitely pass that along. It was one of those when I was looking to sign up for the race and I was talking about I needed a pit crew. She doesn't normally come out to races, but she said, you know what, that actually sounds kind of fun. I'm in. Oh, great.
Yeah, for a team, you don't necessarily need a pit crew. That being said, again, having someone who's clear-headed and like who could kind of like relay messages back and forth was a nice touch, as opposed to normally like me and Akash just run by each other yelling as one of us goes out on the next lap or something. So it was nice to like actually be able to communicate. And
again, it was just going to be me, and then it was the last minute team edition. It was like, well, I guess you get to pit for the whole team now. So
yeah,
it worked out good that way.
So tell us about how you were feeling on the. We'll start off with Jenny. Tell us about how you were feeling towards the end of the race. Did you kind of push it to hit some mileage milestones, or you just kind of coasted out? Were you feeling good, feeling like you could run for another 12 hours if you need to?
I think I felt pretty good towards the end. I would say my last lap I slowed down a little bit, but maybe did a little bit of hiking. But for the most part, I was able to kind of keep moving and run. I feel like my only experience in the longer races is the straight ultra trail runs, and I liked how the obstacles kind of broke that up and like just let your body move in a different way, I think. So I don't know. I felt pretty strong at the end. Like I felt like I probably could have kept going, maybe not for another full 12 hours, but I could have kept moving a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't move at the same pace for another 12. I mean, you can see unless you're Mark Botras, that was weird.
Yeah.
But most people, their second 12 hours is substantially slower. It's a substantially positive split, which means, they slow down. So
makes sense.
But yeah, Phil, tell us about how the last couple laps it went for you. Cause we, the way with the team, essentially the whole team has to run. So at least half of your team is going to run 2 laps in a row. And the way it timed out for us is me and you ran 2 laps in a row at the beginning, and then we ran 2 laps in a row at the end. So just tell me kind of mindset and physicality, how you were feeling at the end there.
Yeah, by that point I was getting pretty tired and fairly broke down, but I had just kind of like mentally locked it in, like, you know what, this is just gonna suck for the next couple of hours, so let's just do this thing. All the previous laps I had the mental benefit of, hey, I'm gonna get a break, and knowing that halfway through our final 2 laps, like, yeah, I get a quick pit stop to grab some fuel and some water and then straight back out. The very last lap, that was when I think some dehydration was setting in. I was getting dizzy. We got about 1.5 miles into it there, and I started, like, my heart rate started going up, my breathing started going way up, and then I realized I was getting really dizzy and lightheaded. And fortunately by that point we knew we pretty much had third place locked in, and we had the luxury of we could slow down a little bit. So I know our final lap was substantially longer than the rest of them, but that was probably a good thing for me.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried when I was like, all right, if he blacks out, here's how we're going to carry him. I was doing math. I'm like, how long that would take.
That is the closest I think I've ever come to blacking out on a course. That's for sure.
Oh, man. So it was funny is, like when I see you, I'm like, oh, a Ninja Warrior. And like, I admire a lot of attributes that you have for your obstacle proficiency and skill. And it was pretty funny. Like your wife was like, like he literally wrote the book on ultra distance OCR referring to me. And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess I did do that, but it was funny getting some of those compliments from you and your wife regarding that. And then one of my favorite parts, I was talking to Jason Rulo, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure the guys are concerned. I said something like, the rest of the team, we were concerned about winning or whatever, or concerned about doing well. And Jason, this is what Jason said to me. I don't know if it's true, but he's like, well, Evan, they're not concerned about winning, like referring to the team. He's like, they're concerned about disappointing you. And I was like, that seems odd, but okay. So I thought that was a very interesting statement Jason made to me.
I mean, there is a certain amount of that. Published author for how to run these races is running with you. You gotta step up your game, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you guys did. It was, I commented on my Facebook post that, like, I didn't hear anyone complain. I didn't hear anyone talk about quitting. It was just like, like you guys gave me feedback like, oh, my leg's hurting right now. I need to slow down, which is fine, right? Like you need to communicate that stuff. Otherwise we're going to run each other into the ground and possibly cause the team to fall apart. But you just kind of like, all right, here's what we're doing. Boom. And it was nice. It felt like I had kind of mental clones around me of myself where we weren't talking about stopping or et cetera. It was just like, all right, here's the pace we got to hold. We're going to do it. Yeah, Akash, tell me about kind of your pacing and how that went.
Well, I'm glad we can do math. I'll put it that way. This is actually the most pleasant last lap I've ever had at any toughest worlds, whatever, mutter. I mean, we kind of had locked in third, so it was kind of nice to sit there and say, yeah, we could trot this one out. I was like, this is great.
That was me and you. Phil and Scott were in the pain cave for the entire lap there. So.
Oh, they did admirably though. Like honestly, when we came up to every obstacle, I wasn't worried about them finishing each obstacle. It was great. It was like, let's just get to them.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to the first and second place teams were smoking. So Cameron James, I know, was on the first place team. I can't remember who the other three guys he had with, but one of the regulars out at Indian Mud Run there. Their team was flying. They did another 10K, so they did 100K. And Akash, I know some of the second place guys. They're from the Spartan crowd. Give a shout out to some of them that you know.
Oh, definitely. Andy Travitt and Ben. I never have been able to pronounce his name.
I'm gonna go with Yokomides. Sounds like a nice group
name.
Thanks.
I feel bad because I actually love the man. We take care of each other. But those guys, it was nice to see them out there, and also nice to see that like ultras are spreading, if you will, not going just to the same crowd. It's nice to have some new blood out there.
Yeah, agree. And I also got to give a quick shout out to Ryan Artigo. You hear my son is playing in the background with my action figures. Sorry. Give a quick shout out to Ryan Artigo, who is another strength and speed guy, came in third overall. And then Jeff Lippert, who came in seventh overall, ran, I think, 70K at Tough Mudder Infinity like 2 or 3 weeks ago, which I think is the highest amount for Tough Mudder Infinity so far. So that was pretty awesome. So great team performance overall. And for me, like personally, having you guys around just makes me, I feel very proud that the team went out there, and this wasn't necessarily the fastest, but I feel like they pushed themselves to the max of their potential. So, which I think is more important than actually winning. Like you want to perform at close to your potential, which I think is a better indicator of fitness and longevity rather than just being super fast and getting burnt out in a year or two. Jenny, final thoughts. What else you got coming up?
I don't really know. I am looking at maybe doing a 100K trail race close to Kansas City the end of next month, and then Rugged Maniac, and then I'm not really sure from there. I am considering World's Toughest Mudder, but not 100% sure yet.
Okay, well, my vote is you go because you won, so I feel like it's mandatory now. I know there's family obligations and stuff like that, but I'm voting you go.
It's a strong possibility. Yeah.
Are you doing the Patriots run in Kansas City September?
Oh, yes, September 10th.
September 10th. So shout out to the Patriots run in Kansas City. If anyone wants a multi-lap, either training day or race, that's being run. They're partnered with Folds of Honor. Again, everyone knows I love Folds of Honor charity. Do scholarship money for kids whose parents are killed and wounded in action.
Yep. That is absolutely one of the funnest events that I do every year. So I highly recommend it.
And I think I have a SS20 is a discount code, so you can save 20% if you have not signed up. I do not get a kickback from that, but it's good code, good event, supports Folds of Honor, so I highly recommend you check that out if you have time. And I know as of this, by the time I release this, it'll probably be the day it closes, but Leaky Hourglass Ultra, which we had talked about on the last episode, that's going to shut down their registration. So if anyone wants to do that one, I know Jenny did that one last year, and I think you're going out to support.
Yeah, super fun event too. Yeah, I'm going to go out and, I might run a little bit, but I'm not going to actually race a race and just kind of hang out and help with whatever they need help with that day because it's so fun to be out there. So.
Phil, what do you have coming up in 2022?
I got a few more local trail races and a series around the Cincinnati area. And as I said, I'm out here at WarX. We're building obstacles right now. Misspoke earlier. It's not the first weekend of October. It's actually October 8th, which is the second weekend in October. But I highly encourage everybody that likes good obstacle course racing to come on out and give this one a try. Excellent terrain, excellent obstacles. It's going to be a fun time for sure. thisiswarx.com.
Tell us a little bit about some of their signature obstacles. I know they got some pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah. First off, the name WarX is short for War Experience. So, we're running an obstacle course race, but at the same time, it feels like you're running through a war zone. There's smoke, there's sirens. There are some quite massive explosions that really will, when they go off, you'll get some adrenaline. It'll get you moving. We've got a 4-step dragon's back that's actually floating over a pond, and that finishes to some monkey bars. We've got some water obstacles where you got to slide down a pipe, swim out the bottom of the pipe underwater, swim across the pond, then swim back underwater, find the end of another pipe, come up inside the pipe, climb out that end. Let's see, what's some other stuff we've got? We've got the Eliminator, which is a very large, long, difficult rig that gets reconfigured after every race. So if you've raced the race before, come on out, and it's a whole new experience on it this time.
You're gonna have the giant American flag water slide again?
That is definitely coming back. There's twin. They're about 300-foot long water slides down a big hill into a pond. And last year it got painted. The whole hillside turned into. We figured it out. It was actually the largest painted American flag in the country when we did that. It's a pretty impressive sight. There's pictures of that online. What else we got? The one we're working on right now, we call it the Decagon. It's hard to describe, but kind of almost pegboardish, although the pegs are fixed. Big wheel that you've got to, as you work it across, it's rolling across the ground, but it's not exactly round. It kind of jumps and jerks around. So that's what we're building right now. Crazy terrain, good time.
Did I see you guys had a flamethrower there last year? Is that correct?
Yep, that's part of our war experience. There's a pretty intense mud crawl, almost like the mud mile, only there's barbed wire in that as well. And you've got flamethrowers, you've got explosions, you've got smoke, you've got you got the whole thing. It'll feel like you're storming the beach of Normandy or something out here.
So if anyone wants, you can check out This Is WarX. I've also wrote about it in my book, Mud Run Guide's Ultimate OCR Bucket List, available off Strength and Speed. So quick blurb. Actually, no, I think, Phil, you actually wrote that article, that part of the book, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah. I got hooked up with these guys a number of years ago, and they got a great program out here, and I've basically just been coming out and volunteering and helping build the race because it's a good one.
All right, Akash, what do you have going on for the rest of the year?
A baby.
That's a good one.
Yeah, October we're due, so after that I'll determine if I'm doing anything this year. I hope I get to, but at the same time, you know how that goes. That's I got to take care of things.
Yeah, priorities shift pretty substantially after children. I'll just say that. Anyone going to OCR World Championships in Vermont in end of September?
I am not currently planning on going, but that can always change at the last minute. That one always ends up being kind of a last minute decision for me.
Right on. Jenny, you heading out there or no?
I said, nope, I'm not planning on it this year. Defense-wise, just can't make it happen.
Gotcha. All right. No worries. I will be out there. Stop by and say hi. We'll have a Strength and Speed booth in the kind of by the merch area. So I'll have some books and blegments for sale. You can try them on, check out the lights or the extremes. And then other than that, obviously we have the books and blegments off of teamstrengthspeed.com. Final shout outs or plugs you want to give? Jenny first.
Okay, for just specifically to this toughest mudder, I have to give some shout outs to Jason Rulo for all of the advice that he gave me beforehand. Anything that I did know going into it was because he told me. And then you, Strength and Speed, for the pass to do the race. And then also,
I used one of my free passes for Jenny, and for winning the race, she gets another free pass. And now she is stuck into the endless loop of toughest mudders, where you do a race for free and then you win and then you have to do another one, and it never ends.
The cycle continues. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And then also lastly, Alex Buford, who is Volition Chiropractic, that also helps out the Mudgear Battle Alliance Pro Team. She drove us all out there the day of the event and then stayed up for 12 hours and drove us all home the next day. So like 7-8+ hour drives both directions. So shout out to her.
Brutal. Akash, what do you got?
Well, first, shout out to our team, and of course, you, Evan. Thank you as always, and everyone at Strength and Speed. But also, I got to quickly say, Caterpie, Hoplite, and Zero Shoes, thanks for keeping my feet alive and water done for my hands, and Frog Fuel to keep me going. But I got to be really honest, everyone on that course should be getting a shout out for helping everybody and motivating them. I wish we could name them all.
Yeah, absolutely. The Tough Mudder community is always cool to see everyone pulling each other up and helping each other over obstacles and stuff like that. Love it. Phil, what do you have?
Just shout out to the team that helped get me through and a whole lot further than I thought I was going to make it. And certainly a shout out to my wife, who was quite a bit of encouragement even throughout the night, and basically told me, hey, you said you're going to do this, so now show me that you're going to do it. So yeah, kudos to her for also spurring me on to getting the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely appreciate the team. Akash was there the last time I teamed up with him in Vegas in 2019. That was my 50th podium, and this past weekend was my 75th podium. So I was super happy to accomplish that, and things are always better, I feel like, when you accomplish them and you have friends, either one, help, or two, to celebrate kind of the accomplishment with you. So it felt really good to cross that line again with you, Akash, and the rest of the team to kind of celebrate that moment. So appreciate all the help. I appreciate all the help of my crew and my travel woes that got me out there. That's the second travel disaster kind of I've had this year. The other one was before the regular or toughest East, when my plane got canceled and I had to sleep in the airport in Chicago Friday night, and then flew Saturday morning to Philadelphia. My bag flew to New York. My dad picked me up from Philadelphia. My mom picked up my bag from New York and then drove my bag to Philadelphia because I had all my race equipment. So literally the support system surrounding the podiums and my racing and stuff like that is just huge. And that was the saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go together, if you want to go far, go together. Right. So I definitely feel that. Absolutely. All right. We will see you all later this year at what other events you're going to be at. And I hope to see some of you at OCR World Championships and World's Toughest Mudder. All right. Thanks again, guys. And Jenny.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, Evan.